How do you develop executive presence? I will never forget the time that I met a leader that I highly respected. I'd been following this leader for years, but never really had a chance to meet him in person. And one day at a conference, happened to run into him. Well, there were a couple things that immediately struck my attention. Number one was he was so short. I had only seen him on stage. I had never actually met the person in real life, and I just realized how short he was. But what was even more impressive, his charisma was off the charts. He looked me in the eye, he gave me a big smile, he shook my hand, and he just said a short phrase that helped me feel like I was part of the team. It made such a profound impact on me that I still remember that meeting decades later. And so it had nothing to do with his height or his physical appearance. It had everything to do with executive presence. So today we're going to talk about executive presence, which is about how you as a leader act in the way that you carry yourself, the way you communicate, the way that you think and you speak that inspires trust and confidence from your team. And today we're going to break down some of the practical ways that you can develop executive presence. So we're just going to take the simple view of both the internal view and the external view of executive presence. And we're going to look at 3 factors for each of those. And they all start with the letter C. So internally, we're going to look at competence, confidence, composure, and the external aspects of carriage, communication, and connection. So the first factor we're going to look at in the internal side is competence. And what this means is you need to know your stuff. If you're to be respected as a leader, you have to put your reps in, you've got to get your experience. You need to be speaking about things that you actually know about. Now, not every leader knows everything. And there's going to be times that people will pose questions that you don't know the information. So don't make up the answer. It's okay if you don't know every answer. People want leaders who are authentic. And so it's okay to say that you don't know, but you also want to inspire confidence by directing them to someone who does. It shows that you're empowering your team members who have that information so that others can go to them for the answer. Or it might just be a simple answer like, you know what, let me get back to you on that. I will follow up. And then make sure that you do. The second internal factor is confidence. That's all about knowing that you have the authority and the expertise to speak. And that's why we start with competence, because when you have competence, it builds confidence. And know that every leader deals with insecurities. It's okay. We're all human. But when you are in a space where you are being asked to speak, know that you belong there. Your voice belongs at the table. You have influence. You have a role. You may even have some kind of official position. These are all sources of authority. But there is a question. Okay, well, what if I'm new? We're all in that place. We go to places where we are new, we don't know everybody, we haven't established that credibility. Well, you can be confident in what you already know. You have had experiences, you have gained wisdom and knowledge that you can share, and even more important than always feeling like you need to be the expert, ask questions, engage people, have a conversation. Avoid starting your sentences with, I think, maybe, or ending your sentences with an uptick in your tone, like it's a question. These are all things that convey a lack of confidence. Instead, speak with certainty, calming reassurance, confident optimism without being fake. It's all about how you say it. The fact that you have this awareness of what is going on and that people are taking action, even if you don't know all the answers all the time. The third internal factor is composure, and this is about staying calm under pressure. That can be pretty tough to do when the stakes are very high, but keep your cool when challenged or criticized. One piece of wisdom that has helped me through the ages is someone shared to me, when someone is angry at you and expresses that, take that as a piece of information about that person. There's something about their story, about their experience, about their values that is triggering that kind of response. And often I find that these responses are because of a values misalignment. So what values are being expressed by that criticism? Stay open, have a non-defensive posture of listening. And that might mean affirming their feelings if it's appropriate, like saying, I can understand why this situation is of great concern. Help them to see that you understand and empathize. So your role in these situations is to model steadiness so other people stay steady too, because your team looks to you for cues in how you respond. Okay, so those were the internal ones. Now we're going to look at the external ones. And the first one is carriage, which is about how you carry yourself, because it speaks volumes. So much of communication is communicated through posture and body language. So stand tall, put your shoulders back, have an open position. Don't sit there with your arms crossed, your legs crossed. Make sure that you have this open, welcoming posture. If you are in a virtual meeting, sit tall. Don't slouch in your chair. Sit tall, and even that will convey something. Make sure your movements are deliberate, not fidgety or rushed. And I confess, I'm the worst at this because I'm always in a rush. I grew up eating fast, walking fast, talking fast, typing fast. And so it's hard for me to slow down. But when your pace is deliberate, it conveys this sense of confidence and with calm. And it makes a difference because then you feel like you're present when you're talking to somebody because you're deliberately looking them in the eye and slowing down. I remember meeting with this leader. It's just constantly, every other minute, picking up his phone, fidgeting around, restless, and it just heightened my anxiety. So I've learned over the years that even though I'm prone to move quickly and that's my natural state, I try to be present when I talk to people, to look them in the eye and to move more slowly. Now, another part of carriage is making sure that your clothing is appropriate to the setting. I remember that I had a meeting, it was a pre-interview, but it was a friend of mine who was interested in hiring me for his organization. And I was like, oh, it's just an informal chat. And when I got on, I realized that there was actually another key leader there, and I was wearing this t-shirt, and I just felt so underdressed. I did not take that meeting seriously. So make sure that your clothing is appropriate to the setting. The second factor is communication. And this is about being concise and being clear. The main point here is to make sure that you are not rambling or going off on tangents, but get to the point. We worked with Patrick Lencioni's group, the Table Group, and I really love the phrase that they gave us, which was headlines, not articles. You want to make sure that your key phrase is short and to the point. And this area actually is one of the areas that I see where there is the most room for improvement. People not sharing what their main point is, rambling and going in circles, stream of consciousness, and after a while, it's so hard to track. Where in the world are we? And I personally am guilty of this mistake as well. So the way to think about your communication is if you only had one sentence, one short sentence to communicate what your main point was, what would it be? Start with that and then provide details if appropriate. Because what happens is when you start with this phrase or start with a sentence, it's almost like a frame that people can hang their hat on for all the other information that comes their way so that they can track and follow you. And make sure that you use pauses and that your tone is appropriate for what you are conveying. You don't want to communicate serious news like it's a big joke, for example. Make sure that your tone is tailored to the situation. And the last factor is connection. To build relational credibility, this is about how you relate to people. Relate in a way that they feel seen as people. They sense your warmth and that you see them as individuals, that you have empathy, that you acknowledge their input. This builds high amounts of trust when you are approachable and authentic. And so those are 6 factors to develop executive presence. If you found this helpful, be sure to like and subscribe for future videos on how you can become a more effective leader.